What's happening, graphic designers? Graphic design layouts are everywhere you go. So, everywhere you go, you pretty much have an opportunity to learn new ideas and ways of doing things that other artists have done. Take CDs, for instance. In today's episode, I'm going to be speaking about CD designs, whether they be for you personally to be providing files to your clients, or for band members, or just people who need CDs in general. Welcome back, everybody, to episode number 14 of Graphic Design Layout Bootcamp. My name is Steve Looney, and I own GraphicDesignerTips.com. In every episode in this series, what I do is I take a fictitious brand that I designed in my previous series called Logo Design Bootcamp, and now I do something with that logo. I feel bad, it's just in a folder all alone, so I put it onto some type of a graphic design layout where you as an artist can learn from every single week. Now, in today's episode, I'm going to be speaking about CD designs. Like I said, whether they be for band members, for artwork that you're going to be provided to your clients, because a lot of times, especially local clients, a lot of people don't like electronic files, just electronic files. They like to be provided with artwork. So that's something you can put on a CD, obviously. And it's nice to have the branding on the CD instead of just giving somebody a plain CD and writing some stuff with a magic marker on it. If we go back to episode number 14 of Logo Design Bootcamp, I designed a logo for Nautical Noon, for the letter N. Now, this is the artwork you're going to be learning from today. You're going to be learning how to design a CD cover and 3 CDs labels that are part of basically a set. Now, I have modernized the logo a little bit based on comments on the original logo, which is, it's a good thing because obviously over time brands do change and they do update. So this tutorial, you're going to learn a ton. But the best part about this whole series is if you click on this link right here, you're going to be able to download these files without the purchased images, the stock photos that I purchased, and you'll be able to follow along with me through the entire process on how I build this entire thing, from the artboards to doing stuff in Adobe Photoshop and then finalizing in Adobe Illustrator. So let me critique this thing and then I'll jump back at the end to wrap it up. So let's go. Okay, so on the screen right now, you're going to see the CD cover insert that is going to be behind the glass. You're going to see the 3 discs, and you're going to see some basically a key down here and some guides on top of these CDs. Now, I'm going to explain that when I start to build this tutorial, and it's going to be a template that you're going to use to build your own CDs for this tutorial or for whatever project you have out there right now. But what you're going to learn in this tutorial is a couple things in Photoshop and a couple things in Illustrator. You're going to learn how to first set your images correctly for print in Photoshop. And I'm going to do this cover in Photoshop. The only part of this cover that is not done in Photoshop is the text down here and the added bleed that I'm going to do later on in Adobe Illustrator. And basically up here, you're going to learn how to import vector elements as a smart object and then add an effect as a bevel and emboss and an outer glow, which is what I did on the Nautical Noon logo. You're going to learn how to use a brush effect and some transparencies to get what's happening out here. Onto here, if I select all, you're going to see all these elements besides the images were done in Adobe Illustrator, vector program. That's what I'm in right now. So basically, I'm going to show you how to do all these elements. I'm going to show you how to do this text on a path and have it go in a nice perfect arc just like so. And it's actually along a path. And I'm going to show you how to use the links panel for linking images or relinking images and some transparencies. So without further ado, let's jump into Adobe Photoshop and get this thing started. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do in preparing your project is you're going to search for 3 different images. Now, I purchased images, stock photos through my account, so I'm going to use them for this tutorial. Now, what I'm going to do is on my desktop, I have image 1, image 2, and image 3, which is I renamed basically for this tutorial. And while I'm in Photoshop, I'm just going to take all 3 of these images and I'm going to drag them right up here to this little toolbar, the tab area basically, and I'm just going to let go. And it's going to create these 3 images in different documents. Now, what I want to do is I want to do 2 things. I want to go to image mode, CMYK on each of these because these are going to be set up for print, CMYK. Okay, RGB is for web. Now, I'm also going to go into image size, and I want to check something out. Okay, basically, this is telling me at 300 resolution, which is the minimum you want for print, this image is going to look fantastic at 19 inches in width by 12 inches in height, which is enormous because these CDs are so small. So what you want to do is you want to alter your document size, and it's going to change the size of the file up here, which is about 84 megs. I'm going to take this down to 10, and it's going to do it proportionately because I have constraint proportions checked over here and resample image. So it went from 84 megs to about 22 megs, and I'm happy with that. So I'm going to hit OK, and I'm going to do that for the other two images. Remember CMYK mode. Now image size, I'm going to come down to, let's see, I'm going to come down to, say, about 8 on here. Okay. I'm going to hit save. Save the first one. Nope. Number 3. It's very important because if you send this up to a printer, they're going to, if they do like a pre-flight process, they're normally going to knock it back to you and say you have problems with your file. Then you're going to lose time, and your client's, probably going to get pissed off at you. So now I have my 3 images, and I'm going to just, I'm just going to X out of my images. I'm going to go Command W to keyboard command shortcut. So what we're going to do now is in Photoshop, we're going to go to File, New, and we're going to set up a new document. And this document is going to be 4 3/4 by 4 3/4 inches. All right, we're going to make sure that's 300 resolution, and we're going to name this CD Back. How about that? We're going to make sure the color mode is CMYK color. And all right, I don't know why that's like that, but that should have been, let's see, I want to do my right here. Okay, so basically, let me fix that. 4.75, 4.75, 300 resolution, 16-bit CMYK color. Background contents is white. You don't even have to have the advanced tab up here. You can have that minimized for now. And we're going to hit OK. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to come back into image number 1, and we're just going to drag that onto our Photoshop canvas, and we're going to hit Enter to set that on there. What we're now going to do is we're going to go to Command T or Edit Free Transform, and we're basically just going to scale this up and hold Shift while you do this, because if you don't, you're going to have this problem happening to you. You're going to hold Shift, and you're going to get it to where you want it to scale in that whole entire area. And all right, let me look at my final real quick. I had I want to mirror this just a little bit to what I did. And now we're going to hit OK when you're happy with the size. Now, what we're going to do next is we're going to create a new layer on top of this. And we're going to come back into Photoshop, and I'm going to give you a hex number, which is this blue color right here. And if I double click on the fill in Illustrator, it's going to, this is the number. It's 5 lowercase a 7496. I'm going to copy that, Command C. I'm going to hit Escape. I'm now going to jump back into Photoshop, and I'm going to come into my swatches over here, and I'm going to paste that color in here and hit OK. Excuse me, let me go back into there and hit Add to Swatches. And I'm going to hit OK. So now if you look up here, it added into my swatches right up here, which is pretty cool. Now, what we're going to do next is we're going to basically just take the paintbrush, and we're going to now, it's going to come up with a bunch of brushes that we can choose from. These are default brushes. I'm not a huge Photoshop guy. That's why I'm doing like basic stuff on this one. I'm more of a layout Illustrator guy. But I know with my default brushes, I could at least have something cool in here that I could use. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this brush right here. It says Airbrush Soft High Density Grainy. And I want to just draw. That's not my brush. Let's do that again. There we go. Okay. I'm going to now hit close bracket on my keyboard right under the delete key or above the return key. And I'm going to make that as big as I can. And I'm basically going to go around the whole piece. And I'm going to go like so. 2, 3, and 4. Now, because this is on a different layer, I could just turn this layer off and look at what is hiding underneath that layer. Okay, so now what I'm going to do with this layer is I'm basically just going to come right up here to where it says normal, my transparency or blending mode, and I'm going to change this to screen for now. And you're going to see what's going to happen. It's going to, obviously, it's going to screen itself right on top. Now, to make that screen even thicker, you can, or alter the color of the screen, you can change the color, or you can just, which what I would do is I would just take this layer, click, hold, and drag into a new layer, so it's going to double it up right on top of it. So say I turn that first one off, it's going to make it lighter. I turn it back on, it makes it, it makes it even more actually lighter. And I like that kind of an effect. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to come into Adobe Illustrator and select the Nautical Noon logo. We're going to hit copy. We're going to jump back into Photoshop and we're going to hit paste, Command V, or edit paste. And we're going to paste it as a shape layer. Okay. Like I said, I'm not an expert in Photoshop, but for some reason my smart object is not having this come in the right way. But when I do it as a shape layer, it does. So I'm going to hit Command T again to scale this down just a little bit. And I'm going to put it up in this area right here. I can retransform it in a minute. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hit Enter. I'm going to come up to here at Image, Layer, excuse me, Smart Objects, Convert to Smart Objects. So now it's going to give me that smart object effect that I was looking for before. If I zoom in and I back up, you're going to notice that it does like a slight, it actually gets a little bit more sharper as a smart object. And that's basically what I wanted. But now what I want to do is I want to double click on my layer right here, and you're going to have your layer style blending options coming up here. And I'm going to first come into Bevel and Emboss, and you're going to mess around with the settings till you get it to where you want it to go. Right now I'm going to do a chisel hard on here on the technique, and you can change all the depths and all this stuff. And then I'm going to come down here to an outer glow, and I'm just going to do a little bit of a white outer glow. And let's see. I don't want it to be too intense. It's kind of far. There we go. That's kind of like what I want. Very simple. And I'm now going to uncheck preview to see what it was and now what it is. So now we're going to hit OK. And before we save this, what we're going to do now is we're going to come into image, canvas size. And we're going to make this 5 by 5 because we have to also add a bleed later on. So that gives us an extra 1/8 of an inch around the whole entire piece. Okay. What's going to happen now is basically we have to come back into these 2 layers right here, which I did not rename any of these. So I have layer 1 copy. But basically we need to come into each of these layers, and I need to add the bleed of this blue area right here. Now the best way to do that is to just take our brush again on that same layer and select like a solid brush like so, and use the open bracket to make it smaller. And with that same blue in the foreground, we're just going to fill in this area. Okay. Remember, we're going to have to do this on both layers because I did the layer twice. So now we're going to come up to the layer on top. I'm just going to add that blue. All right. So basically it added that bleed for us, so when we cut into the CD case later, everything will come out all right. So I'm now going to hit Command S to save, and I'm going to jump back into Adobe Illustrator. Okay, now the first thing you want to do in Adobe Illustrator is you want to come up to File, New, and you want to make right now we're just going to have, we'll make 4 artboards. That's what we'll do. And the spacing is going to be, that's fine. You could do, I'll do 1 inch for now. 1 inch apart, the artboards. I'm going to make the artboards 4.75 by 4.75, which is going to be the height of basically the CD cover insert. And we're going to add, all right, we're just going to hit OK. We're not going to add the bleed on here yet. And I'll show you why in a minute. All right, so what I want to do is I want to rearrange these a little bit. I want to come into Document Setup up here and hit Edit Artboards. All right, I want to take Artboard number 2 and I want to move it down here because these are our 3 CDs on the bottom, and our case is going to be right up in the middle. I also want to make these just a little bit bigger, so I'm just going to edit this right here and see what I come out with. 7.63 by 7.63. I do the same thing over here, so 7.63 width and height. All right, I'm just going to move this around, and then the third artboard, because we're going to put those. We're going to have those guides in there, the little key of what your guides actually mean. Okay, so now we have our 4 artboards, and you can come back in here and even move these around a little bit more to space them out. All right. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy all this over so I have a reference. And I already lost one of my images over here, but that's okay. We're going to rebuild this thing, remember? And we're going to come up into, paste that right there. I'll make that a little bit larger. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to take these little templates for the CDs. I'm just going to put them into our artboards now. I'm going to put one. The second one is where I want it to be, and the third one right in the middle. Okay, so now we have that set up. The first thing we're going to build is the rest of this CD cover. Now, basically, let me jump back into here really quick. Check that that's 4 3/4. Yes, it is. I'm going to go to File, Place, and I'm going to find that image. I actually saved it onto my desktop, and it was called CD Back. We're going to hit OK, and pull that in here. Now, for right now, I do not want to. If you have a problem with the extra bleed, if it's throwing your whole look of the piece off, you can take a rectangle right here and you can make a box, and basically now you're going to select both of them, right click, and make a clipping mask. So you're basically hiding everything, the bleed, away, and you can always open that up later by hitting A on the keyboard or your white direct selection tool right here, and you're going to click and you're going to open that up to the edge. So you can see everything going over your artboard, and your artboard is that black line that goes around. But I'm going to back up Command Z to get back to where we just were. Okay. What we're now going to do is we're basically just going to take a text box and we're going to write relax to the. We're going to hit, actually, you know what? We're not going to hit enter. We're going to hit escape to end that selection. And let's see, what font did I use here? All right, I used Times Italic. Nothing crazy, nothing wild and crazy here. I'm now going to go to Option Click, and then we're going to do Sounds of the Seas. And we're going to hit escape. I'm just going to center this. You can do that using the alignment tool horizontally through the center point. That works pretty good most of the time. What we're now going to do is we're going to make a line segment on the left of relax to the end of the S, kind of balance this out. Right now I'm going to throw a black stroke on it, and then I'll take my eyedropper tool and I'll select the blue, and it'll actually automatically put it into my fill. So I'm going to flip it around to the stroke. And I'm going to go to Option Click. I'm going to shift this over to the other side. So now we have this on both sides. Okay. Now what I want to do is I want to make these little shadows on relax to the sound of the seas. So I'm going to zoom into here. And we're going to first take this background. We're going to go to Object, Lock Selection, or Command 2. So no matter what, we can't mess around with this unless we unlock it accidentally. I'm now going to scale this all down just a little bit. And I'm going to go to Option. I'm going to select both of these and go to Option. I'm going to pull them down right here. And I'm going to go to Shift Command O. All right, I'm going to create outlines on both of these. I'm now going to come up into here and I'm going to go to my Reflect tool. I'm going to click, hold Shift, and pull straight down. And it's going to flip these over vertically. Okay, The very next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select both of these and I'm going to fill it with a gradient of white to white. So we got white on the left and white on the right. But now we're going to select one of these whites, say the one on the left, and we're going to, under here, opacity, we're going to change that to 0. Okay? And the reason this looks funky right now is because I did this on my stroke. So I'm just going to swap these two by hitting these arrows right here. And I'm going to fill this with none. My stroke, I'm going to take my stroke off. And let's see, the exact options that I did over here were, okay, cool. All right. I'm now going to take my gradient and I'm going to just alter my gradient just a little bit. So the white is near the top. Okay. I'm going to select both of these. I'm going to change the transparency to multiply. Didn't want to do that. I'm going to change my opacity to 30%. There we go. That's what I wanted. I'm just going to pull these up to the bottom like so. And you can even squeeze these in just a little bit more if you'd like to. Which is what I'm going to do. It looks kind of funny. And then I'm going to take this F with the direct selection on my keyboard. Click the middle of that shape. Don't click the line. And we're going to pull that down. And I'm just going to alter that gradient just a little bit so it's higher and it doesn't mess around with anything. Move that up just a little bit. Okay. Okay. All right. So now looking at my old artwork, I know what I did differently here. All right. Basically, what I did was let's reselect these two. That fill needs to be that blue. So for right now, I'm just going to take a gradient. I'm going to pull this blue, which is very close to that in here. Actually, no, I don't want to do that. That's the wrong way of doing things. Let me take this blue. I'm going to drag it into my swatch palette. And I'm now going to select both of these and pull that into where the white, the 100% white is. All right, I'm now going to, let's see if I do a multiply on that. All right, so I just changed my transparency to multiply on these, and then I still had that at 30% opacity like I had it, like I originally did that. So that is our front of our piece, and right now we're just going to open this up for the bleeds because we're going to save this later on properly with the bleed. 1, 2. Hold shift when you're moving these lines also, so you don't have them go all out of whack. Okay, cool. So let's go over real quick what this template actually says. Okay, so there are 3 important areas you need to know about the CD template. The first one is the bleed. If your colors or pictures are going to the edge, you need to make sure they extend to that blue line, which is going to be the bleed. Now, yes, some of that is going to get cut off. That's like a 1/16 of an inch. It's going to get cut off. But that's to ensure that all your colors go to the edge and you don't have some white creeping out on the edge of your label. Now, if you look at a traditional CD, you're going to notice that there is the last 1/16 of an inch is basically still the CD. There's no label, nothing that goes around that part. That's still a clear part of the CD. So the label will never reach to the edge, and it shouldn't reach to the edge of your actual CD, as long as you stick it on, perfectly centered. So the second one is where the print ends. The print is technically going to peel off. You're going to peel your labels off where the pink is, and that's why the added extra that goes to the blue line is going to be your bleed area that you're going to eventually throw out. The last one is your content margin. You want to make sure all your content is within these margins because there is a chance you can have, some kind of a registration issue with your printing, and things might skew or be off a little bit. So you want to make sure that no matter what, this stuff isn't close to the edge, just in case that does happen. All right, so now we have our 3 areas, and let me come down here, and what basically we're going to do is we're going to build one, and then we're just going to substitute certain content. All right, so what we want to do here is we're going to take all 3 of these, 1, 2, 3. Actually, no, before I do that, let me go select the center, and you'll see why I'm doing this in a second. I'm going to select the center circle, 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to hit copy. I'm going to come back to that in a second. I'm going to select all this. I'm going to come into my layers and create a new layer. And I'm going to move them to this layer. I'm going to call this template. Okay? And I'm going to make sure the template layer is on top of my layer 1, which is where all my artwork is going to go. I'm now going to hit the little lock right here to toggle that on. And I'm now going to come back onto my layer 1. And let me see something really quick. I'm going to start designing on top of this. Okay, cool. All right, so if you see what's going to happen, once I start to design on this, the cool thing is I'm going to have this white circle go over my artwork, which means that I'll be able to really kind of get a preview of what my CD is going to look like. So let's delete this right here. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come to File. Actually, yeah, I'm going to come to File, Place. And I'll come back to my desktop and go back to that image 1. I'm going to place that right here. What I now want to do is I want to come into my ellipse tool, and I'm just going to create a circle that's as big as that. Right now, let's say that blue area, because we're going to add the bleed in for now instead of doing this later. Okay, so I basically added a circle, and I'm going to copy that circle. You'll see why in a second, why I'm copying it. And now I'm going to select this black circle, hold shift and select the picture in the background, right click and hit make clipping mask. So now I clip that image right in here. To alter the clipping mask within that circle, you're going to have to hit A on your keyboard or the direct selection, and you're going to have to now manipulate this to where you want it to be. All right, so let me see exactly all right, what I want right here is, where are you? I'm going to relink my old image real quick. I'll rename that. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I'm just trying to get my proportions right. So if I select this image with the direct selection, I'm going to hit E on my keyboard so I can transform it within the clipping mask now. And I'm just going to scale this a little bit, again, to where I want to get it to where I want to be. Okay, that is good enough. All right. The very next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a rectangle. And I'm going to make a rectangle that goes through the center point, kind of, and not all the way to the bottom, but, you know, a good amount of the ways down. And I'm going to fill that with our blue from earlier. Okay. And I'm now going to go to command, actually, no. I'm going to go to my stroke on there. And I'm going to make that stroke white. I'm going to make the stroke, say 3 points. Is that too much? 2 points, okay? And now I'm going to go, remember I selected my circle before and I copied it? I'm going to go to Command F to paste in front. And without clicking off, I'm going to hold select and I'm going to click that blue box. I'm going to right click and hit make clipping mask. Okay. So now, basically what I did was, if I pull this off, I made a clipping mask of that blue bar within there. All right, now let me just double check what I did here. Okay, let's see. All right, let's try something real quick. I'm going to select this, my blue, come and hit screen. Okay, cool. All right, so basically what I did was I took this shape and I went into my transparency and changed it to a screen. Let me see something really quick. Okay, if I want to make this a little bit more defined, actually what I got to do is I got to move this up because it's not, there it is, proportions a little bit better. Basically what you want to do is if you want to make that clipping mask a little bit more defined, you could change colors in it, but what I like to do is, just like I did in Photoshop earlier, I like to Command C, I'll Command F, paste it right in front to get it a little bit lighter. But I'm going to back up because I didn't want it to be that light. I just wanted to show you how to do that. And all right, so now we're rocking and rolling. The next thing we're going to do is you're just going to create a bunch of text boxes and with the track names on it. And to be honest with you, this is something that if you're following this whole series by now, you got to be a whiz at this. I'm just going to copy these up. I'm going to go to Object, Arrange, Bring to Front. I'm going to hit E on my keyboard. I'm going to scale these down. The reason I have to scale these down is because I scale the other CDs up without, this is the correct proportions because I did use the template on these. And you'll be able to use this template for yours too. All right. The very next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and find my logo, which is probably on my other, actually, no, it's right here. I can get the logo as a vector. And I'm going to come up into the sky area. I'm going to paste this anchor right here. I'm going to hit E on my keyboard. I'm going to rotate it. I'm going to scale it up just a little bit to kind of fit in that area. I don't want it to overlap anything. Like I don't want it to go over the, the back landscape or anything. Let's see. And we can take the opacity down to like 40%. Nope, increase it to like 60. Let's see. We'll mess around with a few things, see what comes out the best. Okay. What I'm gonna do with this anchor is, and like I said, this is all experimentation. So I'm gonna get my fill on my key on my computer, on my over here, excuse me, and I'm gonna fill it with blue. And I'm gonna make sure it's, let's see, should I do it screened? All right, I'm gonna do a multiply, and I'm gonna make the opacity 10%. All right, that's exactly what I wanted. Okay. The very next thing we're going to do is we're going to make this, all this trademark, copyright stuff, but I just kind of like put some dummy text in there. I'm going to select all my text. I'm going to come up into here, and we're going to make an ellipse that is within the margins, okay? Because remember, our content needs to be within the margins. And you're going to come up into your type tool and you're going to hold down. You're going to go to type on a path tool and you're going to click right around here. You're just going to type. You're going to type it. I'm going to hit Command V, and I need to make these smaller, the text. All right, I'm just going to kind of fudge this for now. And make sure that it is in white. Okay. You'll be able to look exactly how I did this on the file that I provided to you. I'm going to move this up a little bit, move my anchor down, because again, I don't want my anchor to touch anything. Just want it to kind of be floating like so. All right, so how does this look? The last thing we're going to do is we're just going to take our Nautical Noon logo and knock it on the bottom, because just because they have the CD doesn't mean that they know what Nautical Noon is. They might lose the case. So now they have the CD, it says Nautical Noon. All right, so the last thing I want to do is, if you see how on the outside I have this dark area kind of coming into the middle and making the CD almost look a little bit three-dimensional, basically what I did here was, and it's very simple, I just made an ellipse on top of everything, except for the guides, of course. Just kind of eyeing this up right now. And we're going to make a gradient that is radial. And let's see, normally our gradient would look like this. So, it would normally actually would go from like black to white. So we're going to change it to radial, and we're going to put black all the way to the right and white all the way to the left. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to replace that black with that blue that we had earlier. And I'm now going to just take the white. I'm just going to slide it over just a little bit, or actually more than halfway. And I'm going to come into my transparency and go and change that to multiply. Okay, so now let's see what happens. If I delete this, that's what it was, and that's what it is now. I like it a lot better like that. And what's cool is, as long as you don't click off, you can come back into your gradient and mess around with that white. Pull that in, push it out more, and see what kind of fun you can have with that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to literally, I'm going to take all of this. I'm going to go to Option Click. I'm going to shift it over one more time. And because these CDs are going to be very similar looking, You know, most CD sets, they are very similar looking. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the top right here because it's this last thing we did. I'm going to hit Command 2 to lock it. I'm going to do the same thing over here, Command 2. I'm now going to click again. It's going to show me I'm on my image. I'm going to click. Basically, I want to relink these with the other images that I made. So the way that I would do that is come up to Window Links. And you're going to see that the Links panel comes up right here. And I'm going to change this image 1 by coming down here and hitting Relink. I'm going to relink it with image number 2. Okay. I'm now going to come into the third one. I'm going to relink that with image number 3. Okay. And very simply, all you need to do is with A on your keyboard, the direct selection, you need to maneuver some things around in here. Or scale up, scale down. I think on this one I scaled up. So if we hit E on our keyboard, we can now scale up just a little bit. Same thing with here, hit A on our keyboard. We're going to scale this up. These images are awesome. Came out really nice. Let's see. Okay. On this one, I need to kind of alter that just a little bit more. Let me see something real quick. What you can do here is, what I would suggest is, come back up to here and hit Object Unlock All. And remember this from right here that we just did before? I want to change that gradient to brown. Okay, you see what that's going to do here? And I want to come into this one and I want to change that gradient to like a turquoise blue outside. All right, so you see how it's a turquoise, it's a brown, and that's the blue or the purplish blue on that last one. Let me see. To keep the continuity of the colors, I would change disk 1, obviously, to disk 2. And I would change that to brown, all that. I would hit escape right now, and then I'll turn that to some kind of a dark brown. And then right here, the same thing with disk 3. And obviously the track names, you'd have to change those too. Let's see. Change that and hit escape. Okay, well, what I want to do now is I want to select this with my direct selection. Remember this blue area over here? You can see the reason you can't see that it's blue is because there's a transparency on it, but if I click here, there's still a blue in here. So let's see what happens if I change this to brown. Or lighter brown. Okay, cool. I get an effect that I want because now I can actually read all the tracks. I'm going to do the same thing over here. And I'm going to change that to like a green. No green. Even a light color, not a yellow, like a beige or a light brown. Orange. Actually, you know what? The orange actually works because it turns into like a yellow. And all our other elements are already there. All our anchor. You can change your anchor even to that orange and see what happens. So you're really customizing these, but it's the same elements. Actually, I'm going to change this to like a green. But it's, you know, it's all experimentation and seeing what looks right. So the one thing you might want to consider is now taking this disclaimer and changing it into a darker color. Over here, you would actually change this to white. So it would be black, and then it would go to white because those palm trees, whatever kind of trees those are. Same thing over here. We would change that to all black, and it's pretty much all legible there. All right, so that's how you build these 3 CDs, and you would save these. I'm going to show you right now how to save this. First, we're going to save this first one because it has the bleed on it. So we're going to go to File, Save As. Well, actually, you're gonna Object Lock, or excuse me, Unlock All if anything was locked, and you're going to hit Command A, select all. You're going to go to Type, Create Outlines, and now you're going to go to File, Save As, and you're going to save this as a PDF on your desktop. you're going to use Artboards and the range, number 1. Okay, I'll tell you why in a second. We're going to name this cover.pdf. We're going to hit save and just do a high quality print for now. I'm going to uncheck that to make it a smaller file size. And come into your marks and bleeds. Hit trim marks and add a bleed up here of 0.125 on all 4 sides and hit save PDF. Okay, so if we come over here, we're going to see if we open up our cover.pdf, we have a PDF. Everything looks perfect. The bleed goes over perfectly, and you have our crop marks going right into there. Now, the last thing we're going to do is we're going to come into File, Save As, and we're going to save the CDs. All right, CDs, we're going to save this as PDFs, and we're going to make the range 2 to 4 because of the fact that we're not using Artboard number 1. We're using Artboard number 2, 3, and 4. All right, we're going to save that to our desktop. We don't need our marks and bleeds on here, trim marks or bleeds, so hit Save PDF. We're going to have a file come up. It's going to be 3 pages, 1, 2, and 3. And that is how you successfully build the Nautical Noon CD labels and CD cover. All right, so what did you think of that tutorial? Write it below in the comments and share it out on your social networks. Very important. A lot of work goes into these videos. The whole goal of this series is to teach you what I've been taught. And with the things that I've been taught, I've been able to grow a successful business out here in New York. And I just want to pass on the knowledge and hopes that you as artists can be able to do this stuff on your own, make some money, or, just have a great hobby to do. So anyway, hit the subscribe button at the top and you'll be able to get these before anybody else does. And I have a couple other videos in the series you can check out and take the challenge. Take these files and redesign something with these files. Maybe not CDs, maybe a poster about these CDs coming out or whatever you want to do. Send them to me in email or tag me on Facebook and I will shoot them out to everybody to see. So my name is Steve Looney from GraphicDesignerTips.com, and I will see you next week for the next episode of Graphic Design Layout Bootcamp. Have a good night. Peace.